Hey, what's going on, guys? What's happening, YouTube? I found an interesting Reddit post a couple days ago. Been meaning to make a video about this, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. I think this post is a great conversation starter. When we talk about starting businesses, you kind of hear two different perspectives, right? Like there's some people online like burn the boats. Quit your job. You need to have the fear. Quit your job and start a business. Now's the time to take risks. And it kind of reminds me of an old, I don't know if any of you guys used to be fans of the TV show Friends, but I think Rachel or somebody was trying to get a job, Rachel or Monica, and they were talking about, you need to quit the job you already have. You need the fear. The fear of not being able to pay your bills and going hungry and not having a roof over your head. And I definitely, I think that's a valid point. You hear a lot of people say things like, when you have a 9-to-5 job, you get home, you're so burnt out, you don't have the energy or the mental focus to really, work on your business, work on starting a business. And I get all that. I think there's some valid points to that. But on the flip side, I also think that there's arguments to be made that the best time to start a business is when you have a steady paycheck. Now, everybody's life circumstances are different. Maybe you're young and you can live with your folks. Maybe you're young and you don't mind having, 6 roommates in a 3-bedroom apartment and eating Taco Bell every day. That's a great position to be in. And I think that's one of the reasons why, young people, if you're, late teens, early 20s, college student, that's one of the great reasons to start a business. It's a lot easier to do that stuff when you're 19, 20, 21 than it is when you're 28 or 30 or 35 or whatever else. Actually, to give you guys a little bit of background on my story. So, I was working a job. It was a full-time job, Monday through Friday, normally Saturdays as well. I was probably doing, 50 hours a week, 55 hours a week, but the job was really easy, right? It wasn't mentally taxing. Over the course of a typical workday, which is about 9 hours, I might have an hour and a half or 2 hours of real work to do. So not only was I not burned out when I got home, right? It wasn't really taxing. It wasn't really stressful. I had the energy when I got home to work on my business. But even better, while I was at that day job, I could work on my business because, I was working for the most part in an office by myself. It was kind of a retail / professional office space, but I was for the most part working by myself. Very little oversight. I maybe had a regional manager who might visit me once a week, if that. And kind of how I got started, even before I started my business, I used to have to work every other Saturday. And Saturdays were always slow. I worked by myself on Saturdays. So normally on Saturdays, I would bring in my laptop with me and I would set it up at the desk in the back. And unless I had a customer, I didn't really have anything to do. And at certain times of the year, it was rare, but I could go an entire day without having a single customer. There were days I could only have, 2 to 3 customers. There were chunks of the year, months at a time. I'd say winter was kind of our slow season. So as long as it wasn't Christmas or something like that, there were plenty of times when I may only have 8 customers a day, 11 customers a day. So, there's plenty of time for me to work on blogs, for me to write ebooks. And then later when I started my business, I credit kind of that job that I had in large part to being able to start a business, right? It was kind of a dead end job and the money wasn't quite enough, which, kind of made me desperate and put me in a position to, okay, I have to get something else going. But even more so than that, when I was at my day job, if I didn't have things going on, I could write a blog post for our e-commerce site, or, sometimes this is maybe a little bit unethical, but I could even take customer phone calls while I was at my day job. And I would have to process orders and things like that in the evenings or before work and drop the stuff off. But as far as like taking calls, blog posts, working on the website, I could do all that stuff at my day job. Another perk about having a day job, I realize I'm rambling for a while before we even get into this post, shoot, I lost my train of thought. When you have a job and you're not reliant on the business to bring in money, it's a lot less stress. I feel like it's easier to make money when you don't have to make money than it is I need $3,000 this month. Some people are kind of motivated by that pressure, but I think a lot of people, and I kind of go back and forth, but sometimes that pressure can just kind of make you crack and you wind up like you just can't function, or you can't get anything done, or you freeze, or you're like a deer in the headlights. But, one of the things when you have a steady income, you have money that you can invest into the business, whether that be Google AdWords, Facebook ads. You're also not needing money, so you can make long-term decisions that are the healthiest for the business, as opposed to making short-term decisions that maybe aren't the best for the health of the business, but are needed to bring money in. So, I mean, just as an example, like if your business is something that involves some email marketing. So whether you're selling a digital course, maybe you have an e-commerce store, if you need money, you're going to be pumping out, emails like to the point that where you're harassing people because you need customers, you need sales. Whereas if you don't really need the money, you can stick to that schedule of, 2 to 3, marketing emails per week and not burn out your list or not burn out your customers. Because this is all about building long-term relationships and the long-term sustainability of the business. It's not, I need $3,000 so I can pay my rent and feed myself this month. But anyhow, this is just from some Redditor. I don't think there's any right way or wrong way, but I thought this kind of stirred up an interesting discussion. So this comes from Clam Powder, and it's titled "Why You Shouldn't Quit Your Day Job to Start a Business." And it's really just kind of an opposing view. I've heard Gary Vee a lot of times like, and fuck taking that safe job. Fuck taking that job that's going to make your parents happy. Start your social media marketing business. Quit your job. And I'm not saying that's wrong for younger people. Like, I do think you should take a lot of risk between 18 and 25 because most people don't have a family to support. You're still young. You got plenty of time. Gaps in your resume or whatever aren't as big of a deal. But, I hear Gary Vee saying that. And a lot of other people are kind of pushing that same message. So I think it's kind of interesting to hear an opposing view. So he goes on to say, why you shouldn't quit your day job sounds crazy, right? Someone on the internet telling you not to quit your job to start a business. In this day and age, entrepreneurs are seen to hate 9-to-5 jobs. I guess I'd consider myself a part of that group who likes 9-to-5 jobs. But if you're considering quitting your job to start a business, maybe rethink it. Realistically, if you have a well-paying job working 9 to 5, there's still a block of time where you can work on various side hustles and businesses. Let's consider the 24 hours you have in your day as someone who works a 9-to-5 job. Sleep 7 hours a day, maybe work 8 hours a day. Let's say leisure, commute, daily meals takes up 4 hours. There's 5 hours in your day unaccounted for. 5 hours on a side hustle business is a ton of time to get things started while you're still in the beginning stages. And in my honest opinion, if you can make a business work while you're working a 9-to-5, chances are you probably won't be able... Okay, and in my honest opinion, if you can't make a business work while you're working a 9-to-5 job, chances are you probably won't be able to make it work once you've quit. I don't want to discourage any aspiring entrepreneurs here, but sadly, it's the harsh truth. If you put your head down and actually work, and your income starts to exceed the income of your 9-to-5, then quit. But I genuinely think it's a dangerous environment to have around the entrepreneurship community. Risking your entire livelihood, and for some, even their kids' lifestyle, just because some 22-year-old on Instagram quit his job and is telling you to do it too, fuck that. So, again, I don't think there is a right way or a wrong way. You guys all, got to take a look at your own lives. What are your bills? How much do you have in savings? What type of risk tolerance do you have? But, again, just to give a little bit of background on me, I started my business in 2012, and back then, it was just a small little eBay side hustle. Initially beer money, $50 a week. Then it grew to a couple $100. Then it grew to a couple thousand. For the first couple years, all the money got rolled back into the business, and we had problems with PayPal doing a rolling reserve. I mean, at one point we had $150,000 tied up in the business that we couldn't touch. That was just, PayPal's our operating rolling reserve with PayPal. So it's not as if I was seeing a lot of that money. But shoot, man, like at the time I left my business, I think I was making $28,000 or $30,000 a year at my day job. And the business, if I recall, I think my tax return that year was like 90-something, 96,000. So, I mean, I was making twice my salary at my day job with the side hustle. And if you really wanted to take into consideration the money that was being reinvested in a business, it was probably like 3 to 4 times what I was making at my day job. And, I like to think of myself as kind of happy-go-lucky, carefree, risk taker. Although in reality, in a lot of ways, I'm not very risk tolerant. And, my parents weren't entrepreneurs. My parents are fairly conservative. So, they were telling me things like, you have to have health insurance. And, it was just like outside of the norm for them that somebody wouldn't work for somebody else. It just wasn't something that they did. It wasn't something that their parents did. So, my parents kind of really pounded it into my head, like the importance of having a 9 to 5. And when I did quit, I was kind of telling my dad, like, look, I have my health insurance set up. I'm making enough money to pay for health insurance. We got our 401k, set up. I'm making 3 to 4 times what I did at my day job. I got, 2 years salary put away. So if things do go awry, I got money to pay my bills. And not that I had to explain myself to him, but I found because he kind of rubbed off on me, I kind of found myself having to kind of justify those things to myself. And it was kind of funny at the very end. My business partner actually kind of got frustrated with me. He actually quit in October. I didn't quit my job until January. And, part of it in my head, like at the time, I had a day job that, granted, would I rather not be at it? Well, yeah. But I really didn't mind my day job. It was like the first time in my life that I had a day job where I was comfortable. I knew what I had to do. The job was easy. It wasn't stressful. There wasn't a ton of work. I had a lot of autonomy. And so I was kind of scared. I'm like, this is the only job I've ever had that I didn't hate. And so I was like, if the entrepreneurship thing doesn't work out, because of the nature of the job, I knew I wasn't going to be able to go back. The job would be filled and it wasn't going to be opened back up for me. So I'm like, I kind of hate to walk away from the one job I've ever had that I didn't really mind doing, because if this fails, I'm not going to be able to go back to it. And then I'm going back to doing, every other job I've ever had that I've hated and was miserable with. But, things for the most part wound up working out. That lasted for about 4 years. And I knew it wouldn't last forever, and I probably could have, stretched it a little while longer, but, I doubt it's going to go forever. In this day and age, nothing lasts forever. Think about it. Like, back in our parents' generation, people would get a job and work for the same company for 20 or 30 years and retire and be taken care of with a pension. And, these days people are job hopping every year and a half, 2 years. It's just the nature. I saw a study the other day that said, like, if you stay in the same job, on average, you're going to get like a 1.5% raise each year. Whereas if you switch jobs, you're going to get, different studies point to different numbers, but like an 11% jump in pay. So, people are jumping jobs. You even look at your home. Back in the day, you bought a TV, the TV broke, you got a repair. There were appliance repairmen. Now you buy a TV. If the TV craps out on you, you don't even bother trying to fix it. You throw it in the garbage. You go to Walmart or Best Buy or wherever, Amazon, and you buy yourself a new one. Pretty much everything in life, nothing lasts as long as it used to. Nothing lasts forever. And I think it's the same thing with businesses and entrepreneurship. The vast majority of entrepreneurs, even if you start a successful business, I would venture to bet that there's far more people who have a business that lasts 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, than there are that have successful businesses that last 5 years, 10 years, that they're doing the rest of their life. And I think that's why in entrepreneurship, one of the most important skills you can have is being flexible and being adaptable, and being a chameleon. So if that means that you need to keep the same business and switch up your business model with the changing times, so be it. If that means you need to transition that business into something else, so be it. But I mean, look at how many businesses turn over. There was MySpace. MySpace is gone. Now it's Facebook. With social media platforms come and go. A lot of popular products come and go. A lot of popular e-commerce platforms and stores come and go. Nothing lasts forever. But like I said, I've kind of gone on a whole bunch of different tangents here. I thought this was an interesting post. I've been trying to kind of share just kind of more interesting concepts, more ideas, kind of starting discussions. And I thought in this kind of day and age of entrepreneurship, of everybody saying quit your job, I thought it was interesting. Kind of hearing an opposing view here. So curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Would love to hear your experiences, your thoughts on this matter. What's kind of your risk tolerance? Like, if you were going to quit a job to start a business or to run a business full time, how much money would it have to be making? If it was equaling your salary at your job, would you quit? Would you want it to be double your salary at your job? Would you want it to be triple? For some people, and this was kind of my thought for a while, it was kind of like, if I can manage to do the day job and the side hustle, why quit the day job, right? Like, why not keep that full-time salary? I'm not stressed, keep the benefits, keep that guaranteed paycheck, and have the side hustle or the business be gravy on the top. And if your business really takes off, at some point it probably is going to grow to the point that you won't be able to manage it outside of a 9-to-5 job. And towards the end, that's kind of how my business did get to be, right? We had an 800 number. I would say probably about 50% of our orders came from phone orders. 50% of our orders came from online orders. So, there are a lot of phone calls coming in. Like, it did get to the point where, you kind of had to make a decision. Like, this business isn't going to be able to thrive, or isn't going to be able to continue to grow beyond this point unless I quit. But, if you can make both work, more power to you. So, drop your comments. Let me know your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are not subscribed to this channel, smash that subscribe button below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next video.